Stephanie Marlin Curiel. I am the Visual Arts Manager here at the Umbrella Arts Center, and I am so thrilled to present this year's Artist in Residence, Ponnapa Prakkamakul, to you today for her first artist talk during her residency here. So without much further ado, thank you all for coming. For those people you may know who have missed the talk today, this is being recorded and will be available. And so enjoy, okay?
Thank you, Stephanie. Hi, can you hear me well? Yeah. And it's glad to see you all here today. Thank you so much for your kind support and your interest in my work. My name is Ponnapa Prakkamakul. I go by she, her, hers pronouns, and I'm originally from Thailand, currently lived in Cambridge and work in Boston. I consider myself a multidisciplinary artist and landscape architect. My artwork kind of include broad range of practice, from studio art to tactical urbanism, creative placekeeping, participatory design, and public art. While some of the work kind of overlaps between these fields, all the work inspired by landscape and people in this location. So it's like a place-specific work. Today I'm going to show you a little bit of the work that in each field so that you get a sense of what I might be doing during my residency here. My work explores the relationship between human and their environment, focusing on cultural displacement and sense of belonging, how someone connects to deeply in a specific landscape or where someone can feel at home. I use art making to understand myself and other people. I started this exploration with in painting first, where I gather found material or from landscape as a drawing medium, for example, like soil, river water, or rust from found object. And this is my first exploration in 2010. This is Chestnut Street overpass, which is part of the I-195 in Providence. I think bridge in general is very interesting, that it's an object that connects two places, but itself kind of have that placeless feeling, or it's like a gap or a place that people actually move through. So I'm interested in how these kind of space can have a sense of place. For this particular highway, underneath the highway has become a special place for certain people. So I didn't realize this until the bridge got demolished in 2011, and some people got really upset and took the debris home. Or took some of the part that has graffiti on home. So I don't know how many RISD students has been drawing this bridge, or when someone come to see the town, sometimes we bring them to see graffiti underneath. And I feel the way I collect found materials to make a drawing is kind of similar to how people try to keep part of the bridge with them as a memory. Later on, I also use bridges to talk about memories or events in the past. And some of you might have a question now, like collecting found materials from landscape might be challenging. So I was approached more than once that the material that I tried to collect couldn't be eaten. And also there was one time someone actually called police. Yeah, so, but through time I kind of start to know how to collect material and won't get in trouble. This one is a bridge in Providence. So apart from exploring these in an urban context, I also look for natural landscape to see the relationship between human and landscape. I applied for a residency that has a studio in a very unique landscape condition. For example, this work is part of the Seascape series, which I made during 3 weeks residency at the off-grid dune shack in Provincetown. Some of you might be familiar with these dune shack, but for those of you who don't know, are not familiar, it's a dune shack that used to be a place for a family that come to visit the rescuer in Provincetown. And because of the condition of the dune, the shack doesn't have utility, so no running water, no electricity or internet, and we have to use old-time, like antique pumps, pump groundwater up. And what happened, the groundwater is very interesting because it has a high iron content. So when I pump it up, it's have an orangish and brownish color. These cause from the glacier movement from the past, and then create like these heavy sediments that seeps into groundwater. And I use that water to make rust from antique shack tools, like metal tools in dune shacks. And this one I try to use this groundwater from the landscape to draw the landscape itself. This is the Ford Dune, which has American beach grass on, and then the landscape still have a dynamic and movement. So this one is an interdune where the sand dunes start to settle and then has some more vegetation coming up, and I use different color shade of rust to draw. So what I find interesting about rust is that it's very similar to plants. It responds to different humidity or level of oxygen, and then it will have different color. Also, like if the water has different pH level, that also affects on like the shade of rust. So it's kind of interesting to see water from each places, like what shade of rust that it made. And two of the work that was made in this collection, also in Lost and Found exhibition downstairs. So please go check it out if you have a chance. This work is part of Beyond Planet Earth collection, where I travel to the Atacama Desert in Chile and stay with the indigenous people there for 3 weeks. They call themselves Lican Antai people, and they have a similar belief to the Incas. And I was like there observing how they live within these like extreme landscape, like very dry. Some people think of these landscape as the Martian, and they believe that there are 3 different worlds. There are people who live in the sky, people who live on ground and underground. So they also talk about the relationship between these 3 worlds and our relationship with the sky and the earth too. So I was trying to make the landscape that almost you looking up or down at the same time constantly. And this is an image of a sunrise in a 360 degree. So what I did is I do a panoramic view of like northeast, southwest first, and then did what is called a stereographic collage, similar to like Google Earth, how they collage 360, and then this is the reverse of it, so that you can have the whole sunrise in one view. And I think this kind of remind me of how we see the stars in the sky. Like we see like probably its whole life of like how the lights travel to the space, but you see it in just one small dot. So I did a series of how you start to step back, and then these landscape become smaller, but at the same time become bigger, and in the end you are in a different space. This is the work that I did during the pandemic. The office that I work stop working, like tell everyone to stay home on March 15, and I woke up automatically at 6 a.m. and found out that I don't need to commute to work. So I start to draw the color of the sky at 6 a.m. since then. And it was like a very small pastel drawing, but when I put them together, I just realized that this is probably the first piece that I did that is placeless. Doesn't have a sense of place, but a sense of time kind of like becomes something very dominant. And I'm still reflecting a lot on this one because it's like I'm staying in one place, but at the same time, it's kind of feel a little lost in space. This is my latest work collection from Mount Auburn Cemetery Artist in Residency, where I still working on the relationship between like our body and the sky and earth. At Mount Auburn Cemetery, like human body turned into the sky through cremation and to the earth through burial, and then the changing of the sky and color of the foliage kind of resemble like how our body changed. This is one of my favorite pieces, and it's, I rarely explain these to people, so I see all the collection kind of similar to the mural in the Thai temple, where they tell about like the cycle of life, how our body connected to the nature and landscape. And I see all these work in this collection kind of saying the same thing, but in an abstract form and not as like human body. So this one is transmigration, so reflecting on how our body like die and born again. And there is one, sometimes when we talk about reincarnation, we thought it would be like a person literally die and born again and die, like a cycle. But there is another school of belief that reincarnation actually can happen in a different scale. Like as now myself in the next second is different person, because there is like the cells that is born and died in my body, but at the same time the thought that come through me make me like different every second. So this kind of reflecting on like different scale of reincarnation, and then you can see these as a series, like a sequence of the sky changing color, or you can look at it as a whole piece and then see like, oh, this whole thing actually changing. So the whole collection, I was working a lot with time. Like the earth sky earlier is like a day and night, and then this one is monthly, like seasonal. So I've been doing the same scene in different season and collecting soil from the cemetery to use as a painting medium to see how like the sky is open in winter and like embracing you in the summer. Okay, this is part of my creative placemaking work, and this is part of Residence Lab program in 2019. Residence Lab is a collaboration between the Pau Art Center, which is a gallery in Chinatown, and ACDC, Asian Community Development Corporation. They are working on affordable housing, but at the same time, apart from providing affordable housing, they provide youth program and art program for new residents to feel grounded in this new home, and make the old residents don't feel like they are pushed to leave because of gentrification. So what they do for ResLab program is they ask artists to create work together with local residents. My team has 2 Chinatown residents, Henry Ko and Warren Wong, and we look at the role of Chinatown in the past, how Chinese immigrants come and then would go to find people with the same family name first, and even though they don't know each other personally, they will treat each other like a family and would provide accommodation, help finding job, and until the person is ready to go to next destination. And then we see that as kind of oasis, similar to like how caravans kind of travel in the desert, and you stop at oasis to like store food, rest, and before you move on to the destination. So our piece provide a resting place for people to sit, rest, reflect, have conversation, interact, but at the same time, the piece kind of, we call it like rocking chair, like rocking bench, so that you still feel that you still have that momentum of moving or continue this journey. During the making process, we also talk with like residents that walk around Chinatown Gate, asking them what Chinatown means to them, or what are their memory of Chinatown, and all these messages, like selected message, got put onto the side of the bench. The message that we pick kind of very generic, but at the same time can resonate with a lot of people. For example, there was one person saying like the most difficulty during that time was communication. So it's very, very generic, but it can happen to anyone. And the quote kind of got translated into English. If the original one is in English, got translated into Chinese, both simplified and traditional Chinese, which people in Boston, Chinatown still read the traditional one, and got translated into Braille too. So during this making process, we did like some like participatory design mock-up test at the Shin Park near Chinatown Gate, and it's kind of good to see how community really engage in the making, testing of this. And my teammates, discovered that he really liked work with kids. And then when we did the real one, because we did the mock-up already, so he know what I have in my mind. So I let them take these on and then do it by themselves. And they really feel that they own these pieces, and like so proud of like bringing people to see them. This is a mural that I did last year called Where We Belong. When I work on this project, I start looking at the history of the place first, which used to be a noodle factory. And I look at old archival document that, let me try if I can get that name right, Chinese Historical Society of New England. Yes. And also, look at Yelp, how people talk about these places, and a lot of people said they make good noodles but bring friends because you have to share like the portion that they sell is like big and it will spoil really fast because it's like fresh noodle. So these really reflect on how like people in Chinatown like live like in extended family, like sharing food, buy things in big portion. So I would like to fill the wall with like huge amount of noodles that connects everyone together. This one, I also did like co-creation workshop with ACDC youth, where we talk about like the recipe that they eat at home, the noodle that their childhood memory, and these are some of the quotes that we get from that storytelling workshop, which I hope to do that with a community in Concord area. This is another mural I did at Parkin School for the Blind, try to have incorporate like the tactile elements into the wall. This mural is at the International House, and this braille part has the country that Parkin School for the Blind work with, so that when they come to this place, they can find their country name. And this is when, I think it's the first time that they meet in person after working from home. So everyone was like help painting the word international, which kind of reflect on like how each individual person are very unique in the staff group, and at the same time how they treat their clients like uniquely, individually. These are other works that I do, which is kind of like a tactical urbanism. I usually call it space activation because it's so short. Some of them are only just like half a day or a day. It's just like a playful game that activate the space, bring people together during a short period of time, or become like, for this one, it's just like become a carpet for people to dance on. These are a little bit more permanent, where I printed on adhesive vinyl, but still have the similar playfulness, and this is a collaboration with the Rose Candy Greenway. These are some of the process, the mock-up, and one of the things that I found working with community usually take longer than I thought. It always be like, someone would like to add something, and then or testing out, and it doesn't work the way I anticipated. For example, this one, at first I thought I did hopscotch many times already. I should kind of start putting it in computer and print it out. But once I print it out, the scale doesn't work for a certain age of kids, so I have to like redo that again, or else it wouldn't be fun for them. So the final one, just would like to make sure that it's fun for all. So while I'm at the Umbrella Art Center, so I hope to do a mixed media landscape drawing of the landscape in Concord, but at the same time would like to do a storytelling with community to see what type of landscape that they feel connected to, especially in a community of color, community with special needs, and LGBTQIA+ community. So I have been going to diversity, equity, and inclusion meeting to find connection. And I found one person who can connect me with their queer community in Concord. So I will be working with them, and I hope to do like co-creation workshops similar to what I did with ACDC youth, with Concord Academy youth, and see how they find this place home, because some students stay on campus and stay in school as like a boarding school. And I think there are 36% of students of color there and 10% of international students. So would like to see how this place help them to find a sense of place, or to feel at home. Yes, I think that's the end of my, these are my current work that is up in town. So please, if you have time or if you are in the area, please go visit. There is exhibition at Kingston Gallery in Sova, and also one piece in that from Beyond Planet Earth collection that is at the Tisch College Gallery at Tufts University. And I have some like hopscotch space activation games at Convergence exhibition at MIT near Kendall Square, and a new mural in Watertown. Yes. Let me know if you have any question, discussion, or suggestion for workshops too.
I'm just curious if you ever sleep.
Yes.
I'm wondering, you mentioned work that different groups that you want to connect with here while you're in this residency, and you mentioned people with disabilities. I'm wondering, have you connected with people over at ARC?
Oh, I haven't yet. At first, I have some connection with AANE, which is Asperger and Autism Network up in New England, and some of their members is Concord residents, but not a big group. But I would love to talk to you for more. Yes, thank you. Yes.
Question. I had the good fortune to meet you at another event in Arlington, at a plein air event, and I was really tickled by how quickly you created this wonderful sketch using the natural materials in the space, doing rubbings of some of the monuments and things. I was wondering, some of those earlier pieces where you're mining all this local minerals and so forth. I mean, how long do you usually take to sort of work and study like that?
It depends on each piece and each place too. Like, I think soil is the most probably the fastest and things that I'm most comfortable with, and I know what it would create. Rust take longer. So when I was at the plumbing museum, that was when I first doing rust as a painting medium, and also at the Dune Shack in Provincetown. So rust is a little unpredictable. So like in the dune where there is like a day that is like really dry, and then like if I put rust on and the water dry up, it create like a certain texture, and I was like, oh, okay, maybe I need to work on like from these, or a certain day that's like super wet because of the extreme landscape in the dune. The color changed, not as expected. So I think that part kind of really helped me to like, the unexpectation really helped me with like working with community to like be like, okay, it's like this, how can I move forward next? But it can take a long time for certain materials. Yes.
I want to go back to the morning you found out that you didn't have to go to work in March of 2020. And you had, could you talk about how you made the decision right in that very moment did you know you were going to start a piece that was going to go on for a long time, or did you just make a decision, oh, well, I have a little time because I don't have to commute, so I think I'll do a drawing, you know?
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people found themselves paralyzed with that change, and yet you, like, you generated so much work. So I'm just wondering, can you talk about that?
Actually, I start to do a pastel drawing of the sky before that. So I have been doing the sky color since Provincetown, and I have been doing that size of the sky, like at the Atacama Desert in Chile too. It's not that I come up with something new at that point, but at the same time, when I realized that I have extra time, I was like, and feel nervous at the same time. I would just need to make something, and I don't know what it will lead me to. So I think, okay, on the first day, I think I actually make more than one, and then during different time. And then I was like looking at it and like, okay. Next day, I woke up again at the same time, and then start to do it. And then I realized like, oh, it's actually changing color. If I wake up during different time, instead of it usually be like me waiting for that moment and then I draw. So like, oh, the sky look beautiful, I will draw. But what if I just draw and then see what it takes me, and then that's when I started to have this. But I didn't really expect much at first. Yes?
What is your job that you got to again go to community for?
Oh, I'm a landscape architect at Sasaki. Yes. Landscape architect has a very broad scale, and I have to tell people first when I told them I'm a landscape architect, and they're like, oh, can you look at the garden? I'm doing a large scale master planning work, and then these work, like artwork, working with community, working with material really helps me to understand a different scale, because working in large scale master planning feel a little bit detached from user, from people, but it has some pleasure in it. Yes, I think.
So I'm just wondering how different ideas about place might inform the work you do here in Concord?
Yes, can you say the question again? Sorry.
How would different ideas about place inform the work you do in Concord?
So I think each person has different ways of connected to places. I think I have a musician friend who would kind of relate to sound, and then kind of sound is also vibration and how your body respond in the space. So I'm interested in like people with different background, with different culture, how they feel connected to a certain space, and how, as a landscape architect, also how can we design to accommodate or make people feel at home in a specific area, especially I think in the urban area it's a little bit harder than in a natural area. But for Concord, I think I would like to work especially with how to say, like a smaller community of color who might not be have something to accommodate them as much as other group of people. Yeah. I hope that answers your question.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
One more.
Yeah.
I know you haven't really begun the process of interviewing residents and so forth and really had much time in the community, but do you foresee this project ending in a large-scale public art installation or in something more intimate and small, something that would be in the gallery that would be more personal to you?
Yeah, my plan is to do something in the gallery first, and then see how it's evolved, or if there is any opportunity coming. I know that public art kind of have a lot of things involved, like needs to find a site that can accommodate it. I think it might be if anyone willing, but especially in Concord where everything is like a preservation historical area, doing something additional in there needs some kind of process, a good reason, and the tactical urbanism part might not be that I usually work on might not be a good fit here. Like tactical urbanism is like you put something really fast there to test and see how people react, and then just temporarily. But this one might need a longer version. But I would love to see if there is any opportunity. Yeah. Oh, yes.
I might be able to connect you with someone in West Concord who's doing a lot of public art in West Concord and murals and has a whole thing going with art for all.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much. Yeah, I love this conversation. Please, I'm in studio 313, so if you have additional thoughts, feel free to stop by or email me if I was there. Yeah. Yes.
There's also the Correctional Institute here, MCI, here in Concord, the Correctional Institute. I don't know if you thought of the prison, if you thought of
I actually look at them. They have a volunteer program too, so I was like, see if I can go train and see if the timeline work. But that's yes, it's something that I was looking into. Thank you.
We still have time if anyone has any further questions or suggestions.
Yes.
Do you have any vision of your gallery show here, or are you going to let that form as you work?
I actually have a vivid image in my head where I would like to have maybe the wall that when you enter the gallery, the wall behind the stairs, like the big wall that you see, might be like a community mural where I do together with youth from Concord Academy, and maybe my work would be on the side wall, and maybe some installation that leads you to that wall, so that you can see the wall from the beginning. You have to walk through kind of space and then see the wall as a surprise later. I hope it worked, but
Anything else? Final words, Ponnapa?
well, thank you everyone so much for coming today. I really appreciate your support and interest and like these conversation of your thoughts. I think it's amazing. Thank you so much.
I just want to add my thanks. Thank you to Ponnapa for this talk and for sharing so much of your process with us and giving us a sneak peek into what we might see in the future in the gallery. I just want to reiterate that Ponnapa's work can be seen in both the shows that we have in the gallery right now, both the small work show in the upstairs gallery and the Lost and Found show, Found Object show in the downstairs gallery. So for those who are not with us today, please come to the Umbrella and get to see some of her work in person before her artist exhibition and the work of many other artists. We are a multidisciplinary art center with lots to offer, so please do check out our website at theumbrellaarts.org. Thank you so much again for attending today. Thanks for everyone at home. Thank you for the production team, and thanks once again to Ponnapa.
Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you.